Borough's dream start to the season continues into its 7th game, but can we take advantage of a slow starting Saints? What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of the Project Boro preview show. Today we are looking ahead to Borough's next game in the Championship, which is of course away from home this weekend to recently relegated Southampton. Now, do forgive my voice potentially in this video. I've been struck down with the same cold that I think everyone has been struck down with over the last few days, just recovering from it now. So if my voice does drop off at times, that is the reason why. But yeah, Boro head down, the very long trip down to the South Coast, and no matter what happens on Saturday, Boro will remain top of the Championship, but we would love to see Boro at least maintain an unbeaten start. If we could win down there, it would be even better. Now, Southampton, as we all well know, have not made a good start to the Championship at all. Of the 3 sides in the league who come down from the Premier League, they are the worst ones of the 3. They sit 19th in the Championship, winning only one of their opening 6 games. They've drew 3, lost 2, scored only 7 and conceded 9. Their results have consisted of draws to Ipswich, Watford and Pompey. Defeats have come against Hull and Stoke. Their only win came on the opening day over Wrexham, to which of course they were losing up until the final few minutes. They got 2 goals in stoppage time to, of course, get themselves a victory that in the end didn't really lead or amount to anything, as they've been pretty poor since then. And I think the best way to describe Southampton at the moment is they're a team who are scarred. They're a team who have been through the ringer for the last 12 months and are seemingly struggling to get themselves going again. I think it's a mix of a few things. I mean, first of all, a stat I couldn't believe when I read it was since they got promoted via the playoff final back in 2024, they've only won 3 league fixtures in that time, which is absolutely wild. They won only twice in the Premier League last season, come down almost breaking the all-time record by Derby County, and have only won once so far. So they've only won 3 league games in their last 40 plus, I think it is. So at the moment at Southampton, there is a real scar. There's a bit of toxicity there. It's not a club in a great place. They're trying to get themselves moving again, get themselves going again. I think they're also dealing with a big amount of transition. New manager, as always with the parachute clubs. There's a lot of change, a lot of players, big players coming out, a lot of players coming in with obviously the investment that they're able to do. So I think at the moment they are definitely a side who are trying to find themselves, struggling to adjust and struggling to get going. I still believe, as with all 3 of the relegated sides, when they do get going, I think they will absolutely be fine. And I think once all of these teams click, they've got way too much quality for them to not rally their way up the Championship table. The question is, when will that happen? And the hope for us is that it won't happen this weekend. Now, Will Still has been experimenting with numerous different players, playing in numerous different roles. They haven't really found the perfect formula as yet. However, it does seem, and I was hoping the Liverpool Cup game they've just had in midweek would have been another kick while they were down, you could say, where they get well beaten and it just sort of demoralises the Southampton camp even more heading into the Boro game. However, it seems like despite losing in that game, there were maybe more positives for Southampton than there were negatives. Maybe they stumbled across a few things that actually worked. Personnel who came in did well. I think possibly it could be actually a positive result for Southampton, and it's something they could take in to the Boro game. It very much seems like though they are a side that maybe do relish a more open game with more space against a side like Liverpool when back in the Championship. If they're playing teams who are a little bit more defensively solid, a bit more pragmatic, at the moment they're just struggling to score goals and struggling to break teams down. So that's the way Southampton are at the moment. It's a case of not if they get going, it's when they get going, and we can only hope that they don't get going this weekend against Boro. So taking a closer look into Southampton and their numbers, I would actually say they're not a bad offensive side in terms of what they create. They just can't finish for love nor money. Defensively, though, they are still, and their numbers back up that they are not a good side at the moment from a defensive point of view. Going forward, in terms of the goals they've scored, they're sitting bang average. They're around 15th in the league table for goals scored, only scoring 7 in their opening 6 games, as I say. However, it's not for the lack of trying. They have the second highest XG in the Championship, which means they've created the second highest number of quality chances so far, only behind high-scoring Coventry, who have got near enough the same XG as Southampton, yet have scored almost, or just over, in fact, double the goals that Southampton have scored. So they should have had an expected goals of 11.5. They've only scored 7, so it is worth noting they have massively underperformed in front of goal. It's not that they've not created the opportunities, it's just that their forward line have not been scoring them. So again, I go back to what I said earlier. They will probably, likely still create against Boro. It could again be a case of, will they click? Will they find their feet? Will their forwards score goals? Because they definitely are capable of creating chances. They just can't put them away. So they are one of the worst underperforming teams, you could say. And if you look at their shots on target, they've had the 5th highest number of shots on target per game. So they are getting plenty of shots up. They are testing the goalkeepers that they're coming up with, but they have one of the worst conversion rates in the Championship. A shot conversion rate of only 7.7. It's not the worst in the league, but it is amongst one of the worst as well. So going forward, I still would be very wary of what Southampton's quality players can create. We just need to hope that, like they have done so far this season, they still can't hit a barn door and they still miss and fluff a lot of their opportunities. You compare that to Boro, we actually have the 3rd best attack in the Championship, which is crazy given how we've not been known to be the most creative side and still aren't at the moment. We've got 11 goals. We're only behind Bristol City and Coventry when it comes to goals scored this season. However, when it comes to our expected goals, we're nowhere. We're 16th. We've only got an XG of 6.8. They're underperforming. We're overperforming. You've got to expect that to level out at some point. I hope we create more so that we can leverage that, because our shot conversion rate is 16.4%. It's over double of Southampton. So we're being incredibly clinical. They're not. I hope that doesn't begin to level out this weekend and we can continue trending in the same way, although the law of averages will tell you that is not going to be possible. So, yeah, will Boro keep taking their chances, or will Southampton start taking theirs? We'll have to hope for the first and not the latter. Even though you can tie some positives to Southampton's attack, even though they're not finishing their chances, I think Boro can be encouraged by their defensive numbers, because you can't dress up Southampton's defence in any way, shape or form. They've not been good enough this season. When it comes to the goals they've conceded this season, they're 16th in the Championship for goals conceded, so they've got possibly the 8th or 9th worst defence in the league, conceding 9 goals. That's a goal and a half per game, and their XG conceded, or XG against, basically backs that up. They've got the 8th worst XG against in the Championship as well. They should have conceded an expected goals of 8.6 and they've conceded 9. So, as I say, there's no way of dressing up Southampton's defence. It is as bad, and it matches up with the data that you see. So, yeah, for me, I think it's pretty clear. Boro can get at this Southampton side. They aren't great defensively. You can get chances up against them. I think it's very much going to be a case of who takes their chances when they come their way, who has the quality on the day, because it is worth now noting Boro have the best XG against in the whole league. We have conceded the least number of high quality chances in the league. So if we can do that and keep that up, maybe we will nullify Southampton's creators, and that might just allow them to basically have no chances at all. I mean, it might take a ton of chances for the Southampton side to score. If we can limit them to not very many, that will hopefully help us massively in terms of getting a result. We just have to then, of course, depend on Boro taking our chances when they come at the other end, which hopefully they will, given Southampton's defence. Looking at their team, though, I still think there is so much that could potentially change with this Southampton team, and I think Will Still is still trying, pardon the pun, to find his best team. I think he's still trying to find the best remedy, the best mix. I think in midweek in the Cup there was certainly positives. They did play more of a back five with wing backs against Liverpool. Obviously in the league they've been going with a back four. That doesn't seem to have been working as well. So honestly, I can't pin what I think Southampton will do this weekend or how they will set up against Boro. Will they match Boro up with wing backs? Will they go with a back three/back five, or will they return back to the 4-2-3-1 that we saw them play in the league? It's a big decision that Will Still has got to make, and I think it probably leaves Boro a little bit unsure. You know, we might not know which Southampton side we're going to get. We might not know which team they're going to put out there and who is going to play. I mean, midweek with them playing a more sort of it was a 5-4-1, you could call it that, at least on FootMob. There was no place in the squad for Finn Azaz, who has not started his Southampton career very well at all. So if they feel like a wing-back system's the best place to go, then maybe there won't be any room for Azaz or one of the 10s. And then you've got to look at who they put up front, because even though their team hasn't got going yet, they still have a stupid array of talent in their squad. You know, they're starting with Cameron Archer, a player I know we would love to have back at the Boro. They've got Adam Armstrong, who can come on and play in a variety of different positions. They've got Ross Stewart, who's been a great Championship striker in the past. Damien Downs, who's come in, not hit the ground running, another option up there. They've got, Tom Fellows, who they've signed from West Brom, one of the best creators. We all know how good Finn Azaz can be on his day. So they still have plenty of really good options, but again, it's finding the right blend, it's waiting for them to click, and they simply haven't yet. And when you look at the stats amongst their players, there's more proof to that. Their top goal scorer is Ryan Manning, their left back. He's got 2 goals. One of them was a worldy free kick. In fact, were they both free kicks? I can't remember if the second one was, but the opening day, he had a brilliant free kick scored against Wrexham. He's the only player who's scored more than 1 goal for them this season. The only forwards who've got a goal, Adam Armstrong's got 1, Archer's got 1, and the only midfielder or attacker to get more than 1 assist is Ryan Fraser, who's got 2. So, yeah, it's not great at the moment for Southampton. They've got a lot of big players, and a lot of them aren't clicking yet. And it's a case of when will they find the right formation, when will they find the right system, and when will they get the right players into that system. I still think they're looking for that. We just have to hope they don't find that this weekend. As for the Boro 11, I don't think it will change all that much. I think, and I hope, George Edmondson will have recovered from the huge black eye he got last weekend. There was a team photo that dropped midweek, and he still had that shiner, so I'm not too sure whether he will start. If he does, I think it will be the same back five. If he doesn't, I think we'll start with the same back five that we had at the end of the last game. So I think Silvera will probably shift to left wing back, and Targett will tuck in at left back or left centre back. So that could be the only change that might happen in the back five. All depends on what happens with Edmondson. And then I do think the rest of the team will probably stay as is. There might be a chance he brings back in Morgan Whittaker for Nipan. I'd still start Nipan for me. I have put Conway behind Strelets. That's more because that's what I think he'll do. I still stand by that I would rather see Strelets behind Conway alongside Nipan in a kind of 10 shadow second striker position. So I'd still like to see that switch, but we've not seen that or any chance of that happening so far from Rob Edwards. But I would like to see him still go with the same front three that started the last game against West Brom. So as for my prediction, this is a tough one to predict. It really, really is. And when me and Chris sat down and predicted this block of games during the last international break, I had us to lose here because I thought back then Southampton will have surely started to click by the time Boro travelled down to St Mary's. They still haven't. I do think they are clicking, and I do think the Liverpool game has actually probably gave them more reason to be a bit more confident than what they probably would have been. So I still think, and I'm not underestimating how tough of a game this will be for Boro. And even though we're top, and we've been great, and every game I go into with Boro at the minute, I'm sort of thinking, is this the week where we'll lose? Is this the week? And we never do. We have done very well, played a lot of good teams, and don't get me wrong, a win here would be a giant scalp for Boro. And I do think there is definitely an argument to say that this is still a good time to play Southampton, as much as that is a bit of a cliche. But, there's a but. I just have a feeling they will start to click here. Maybe it's just the typical Boro within me, just thinking of course they will, and yeah, Finners has to score, you may as well stick a fiver on it now, knowing how the football gods usually work with these things. But I'm going to go with a draw. And I think coming away from St Mary's with a point right now might feel a little bit underwhelming, which is crazy to say given just where we are and where they are. But I think if we can get a point from here, remain unbeaten, we might look back on this in 10, 15, 20 games time when they do start to move. And we might look back at it and think, wow, what a great point that was at St Mary's later on in the season. So I would not underappreciate a point here. And, just, again, another point on the road. Keep that unbeaten run going. It keeps the momentum going. I think if you come away from Southampton with a point, I think you will be delighted with that. I would love us to win, of course, but can I hand on heart say I think we will? I don't think we will. I think Southampton will start to show signs here like they did against Liverpool, and I do think there will be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. Southampton 1, Boro 1. One thing that is worth mentioning, though, if Boro score first, then it very much seems like St Mary's could turn toxic, because that's basically what has happened. In so many games over the last 12 months, they've conceded first, and they've most likely went on and not won or lost the game. And I think, again, that just goes in, that's just looking into this sort of losing culture that's been there for a long time, the psychology of what they've been through, what their fans have experienced over the last 12 months. If Boro score first, I think they could turn very toxic, and there'll be a sort of, here we go again at St Mary's, and Boro can really capitalise on that. But the first goal's been important for Boro as well in a lot of our games so far this season. So the first goal in this game is huge. If they get it, it might be like a huge outburst of relief, and they might then start to really come at us and click and get into their groove, and we could be in trouble. If Boro get the first goal, it could go the other way. They might turn toxic, get on top of the players, and it might not be a very nice atmosphere. Boro can capitalise on that. So the first goal in this game is absolutely crucial. I don't know which way it's going to go. That's why I'm sitting on the fence and getting splinters on my arse, and I'm sitting on the fence and going down the middle. I'm going to go Southampton 1, Boro 1. I'd still be delighted with that. Of course, if we can come away with a win, 6 wins from 7, 19 points from 7 games. I mean, it's beyond dreamland at this point. It really, really is. So we will see what happens. I'm going to go with a point at St Mary's. Let me know your thoughts, feelings and predictions in the comment section below, and what minute you think Finners will score in, because that always happens. But yeah, until next time, guys, hit a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and leave me a comment in the section below with your thoughts. You can listen to these on your podcast providers as always if you'd rather do that, and we'll be back over the weekend to review, hopefully, a positive result down at Southampton. But until then, take care, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.